Welcome. I'm Jim Traficant. I'll be on YouTube. All you have to do is click on YouTube and type in Jim Traficant channel. And I guess if you want to hear me about the issues, you'll have to do this. I don't seem to have any money, quite frankly, like these other candidates have. But I think it's important to understand one thing. Where's all this money coming from, and why is all that money coming to these candidates? I've always controlled my vote, never got a whole lot of money, never owed anybody anything, but I think I have to start with the very first issue, the issue of the imprisonment, the art school, if you will. That's right. Now there are several of the witnesses who testified that admitted they lied in trial. You have a young man, a young black man in Nigeria, Mr. Okolo, said his life was destroyed because he wouldn't, listen to the words, perjure himself for the government against Jim Traficant. He said so they did everything, including indicting him on bank fraud to pressure him to testify. And when he wouldn't testify, and the courts finally realized this man was imprisoned wrongfully, they deported him. When he's in Nigeria, he submitted an affidavit to the Nigerian government that has everybody now worried. He said that he was pressured to lie against Traficant. He wouldn't do it, and his life was destroyed because of it. He was contacted by people in the States telling him to submit another affidavit, saying he's just upset and distraught. And quite frankly, he told him to go to hell. And they informed him if he did not repudiate that statement, they would deport his 79-year-old parents from Baltimore. Next thing you know, they started deportation orders on his father, and his father died. The last I had heard was Catholic Charities of Baltimore was looking into the matter, but that's just one of the cases, folks. No physical evidence at all. The government said at trial, if you listen carefully now, a 6-year investigation, $15 million cost to the American taxpayers, over 250 federal agents investigating, chasing Jim Traficant, on or about the time that the World Trade Center was being attacked by terrorists. Our Pentagon was attacked by terrorists. And they had 250 agents chasing me. And when the issue of tapes came up at trial, the government said, and I want to tell you this, listen carefully, 6 years now, they never bug my telephone. They never sent anybody to me with a body mic. Now, there's a fellow from Canton by the name of Mike Robertson, a retired Secret Service agent, who said this straight out. The Secret Service could have never even got an indictment on Traficant. He's a political target. When there's no evidence that exists, the government must attain some form of admission from the so-called wrongdoer himself. He said when the government said they made no tapes, they were admitting they had absolutely no evidence, and they had boxes and boxes of tapes. But Traficant, he said, could have taken those tapes and used them against the government. Now, you're going to hear all this business, why didn't Jim hire an attorney? If I'd hired an attorney, what little bit of money I had would have been gone. There was nobody who could have won that trial. I was targeted since 1983, being the only American in the history of the United States, and I'm very proud of this. The only citizen of this country to ever defeat the Justice Department in a RICO trial, pro se, without being an attorney. Full jury verdict. They couldn't live with that. And they couldn't live with a congressman that was going after the IRS and the FBI and the Justice Department. But I don't think that was the real killer. I think the final killer was when I vindicated a man named John Demjanjuk from Cleveland, a Cleveland auto worker. You might recall this Cleveland auto worker, Demjanjuk, Ukrainian-born, was accused of being Ivan the Terrible of the Treblinka concentration camp in Poland. His citizenship was stripped away in Cleveland. He was sent to Israel to stand trial. He stood trial, folks, in a theater so more people could come in and witness what a Nazi murderer looked like. He was convicted of mass murder as the infamous Ivan. He was sentenced to death, and he was on death row when the family came to me. When the family came to me, they said, we didn't want to come to Jim. They were quite honest about it. So we know the government hates Jim. But listen to what they said. Nobody, not one congressman, not one senator, even their own congressmen, their own senators, would even talk with them. The case was too sensitive. My staff told me at the time, do not meet with this family. You are not a supporter of foreign aid, and if you get involved in this case, you're going to blow your career. And I had heard the young son say to one of my staffers, what is wrong with America when I can't speak to someone elected who represents me? He said, I never had a parking ticket. My mom never had a parking ticket. I just want to talk to somebody about the plight of our family. And I made the decision then. I think that decision, not totally, but had much to do with me going to art school, folks. I said, bring him in. Now, for those of you who may recall this, the newspaper said, Traficant supports Nazi mass murderer. That wasn't true. I was looking into it. And I believe that family and any family in America should have that right to have their matter addressed, no matter how quote-unquote sensitive it is. What they didn't put in the papers was what I told the son-in-law and the son. Your father's been convicted of a most heinous crime. And certainly if he's guilty, I can go over there and pull the switch myself. But I'll look into it. As I looked into it, folks, I realized that John Demjanjuk was not Ivan the Terrible. With documents I procured, some from whistleblowers, from the Justice Department themselves, I proved without a doubt not only that he wasn't Ivan, that Ivan the Terrible was a man named Ivan Marchenko, 9 years older, taller, black hair, long scar on neck. And I did so by tricking, if you will, the government. I submitted a Freedom of Information Act request on a man named Fedorenko from Chicago. And bingo. Not only did I get 17 people to identify Ivan, one who identified Ivan identified a photograph. Sixth Circuit Court in Cincinnati wouldn't accept my evidence. Congress wouldn't hold a hearing. It's too sensitive. And I said, when's this sensitivity? Waive the Bill of Rights. I sent it to the Israeli Supreme Court. Israeli Supreme Court called me. I went over to Israel. I did an interview on the Today Show, and I said if they put this man to death, Israel's going to lose $20 to $25 billion a year. They don't just get $3 billion in foreign aid. That night I got a phone call from the Israeli Supreme Court and said he will be in Tel Aviv airport tomorrow night, take him home. And I did. I think that helped put me in prison, but I would do it again. By the way, as soon as we landed, the Sixth Circuit Court gave a statement and said it was a tragic but honest mistake by our government. You believe that? You believe that Kennedy was murdered and assassinated without a conspiracy. Jim Traficant channel, YouTube. I'll be going over the issues, but you had to hear this first. Thank you.